Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Renuka with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas is the most powerful manifestation of the spirit of our Constitution. Addresses Constitution Day event organized by Supreme Court in New Delhi. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana stresses on launching massive drive to make citizens aware of constitutional rights and duties. Russian President Vladimir Putin to attend 21st India-Russia Annual Summit in New Delhi on 6th of December. Two-day India-Russia 2+2 dialogue also to begin the same day. Russia, India and China reaffirm their support for transparent, open, inclusive and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system with WTO at its core. New Delhi says it will continue to make every effort to seek justice for families of Mumbai terror attack martyrs and victims. Accuses Pakistan of showing little sincerity in bringing perpetrators to justice. Centre cautions states and union territories against the new variant of COVID-19 detected in South Africa and two other countries. International commercial passenger flights to and from India to resume from 15th December. In Indonesia Open Badminton, PV Sindhu cruises into semi-finals of women's singles. Pair of Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty enters men's doubles semi-finals. And in Kanpur Cricket Test, New Zealand were 129 for no loss in the first innings in reply to India's 345. As India created history by administering over 100 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, All India Radio salutes all doctors, nurses, frontline workers and all those who got vaccinated and made this possible. Even though the country has achieved this feat, we caution our listeners that the battle against COVID is not yet over. We appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and also help others get vaccinated. Please continue following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 01123978046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that every section of our democratic country is getting equal rights. His government is dedicated to the Constitution and does not discriminate in development. Addressing Constitution Day event organized by Supreme Court in New Delhi, Mr. Modi said, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas. This is the most powerful manifestation of the spirit of the Constitution.
सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, सबका प्रयास, ये संविधान की भावना का सबसे सशक्त प्रकटीकरण है। संविधान के लिए समर्पित सरकार विकास में भेद नहीं करती और ये हमने करके दिखाया है। आज गरीब से गरीब को भी क्वालिटी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तक वही एक्सेस मिल रहा है जो कभी साधन संपन्न लोगों तक सीमित था।
Mr. Modi said we may all have different roles, different responsibilities, different ways of doing things, but our faith, inspiration and energy have the same source, that is our Constitution. Mr. Modi said the government is giving free food grains to the poor by spending more than 2,60,000 crore rupees on Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, and just yesterday the government had extended this scheme till March next year. The Prime Minister said hundreds of years of dependence pushed India into several problems, and the India that was once called a golden bird was suffering from poverty, starvation and diseases. He said in that background the Constitution always helped in taking forward the nation. Mr. Modi said, sadly we also have such people in our country who stall the development in the name of freedom of expression without understanding the aspirations of the nation. He said it is this colonial mindset which is responsible for strangulating the dreams and aspirations of our young India. In his address, Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramana, stressed on the need to launch a massive drive to make citizens aware of constitutional rights and duties. He said the Constitution made accountability a main feature of the legislature and executive. He said judiciary was kept on a different pedestal and as an institution, the judiciary has lived up to the trust reposed in it. Justice Ramana said the general perception that securing justice is the function of only judiciary is not correct. He said it depends on all the three organs and any deviation by the legislature and executive will only cause more burden on the judiciary. He said an area of grave concern for the judiciary is the increasing attacks on judges.
An area of grave concern for the judiciary is the increasing attacks on judges. Physical attacks on judicial officers on the rise. Then there are attacks on the judiciary in the media, particularly social media. These attacks appear to be sponsored and synchronized. The law enforcing agency, particularly central agencies, need to deal with such malicious attacks effectively. The governments are expected to create a secure environment so that the judges and judicial officers can function fearlessly.
Law and Justice Minister Kiren Rijiju said the Constitution of India is a living document and it has stood the test of time. The minister said the democratic process has ensured that the masses have a stake in the development of this nation. He said to commemorate Constitution Day, the Law Ministry has launched an online course in Indian Constitution and it is to ensure every Indian has access to provision of the Constitution.
We must facilitate and ensure that every Indian is access to the provisions of the Constitution of India. The aim of taking our Constitution to every citizen of India has to be made a reality, providing an opportunity to inculcate a deeper understanding of this history, knowledge and the perspective of our Constitution.
Earlier in the morning, President Ramnath Kovind led the nation in reading the preamble to the Constitution of India. Speaking at the celebration of Constitution Day in the Central Hall of Parliament, the President said that Constitution connects all Indians. He said 72 years ago in this Central Hall, the framers of Constitution had adopted this document for a bright future of independent India.
इंग्लैंड और अमेरिका जैसे देशों में महिलाओं को लंबे संघर्ष के बाद मताधिकार प्राप्त हो सका था, परंतु हमारे देश में न केवल महिलाओं को आरंभ से ही मताधिकार प्रदान किया गया, बल्कि कई महिलाएं संविधान सभा की सदस्य भी थीं और उन्होंने संविधान के निर्माण में अपना अभूतपूर्व योगदान दिया था। हम भारत के लोग ये गर्व से कह सकते हैं कि हमारे संविधान के निर्माण में फाउंडिंग फादर्स के साथ साथ फाउंडिंग मदर्स ने भी अपना योगदान दिया है।
The President also released digital versions of the Constituent Assembly debates and a calligraphed copy of the Indian Constitution with amendments made to date. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said the preamble summarizes the philosophy of the Constitution in which people preferred India to be a democratic republic.
Our Constitution, in essence, is a statement of values, ideas, ideals, seeking to ensure justice, liberty and equality for all in the true spirit of fraternity and is a guide to peaceful democratic transformation, enabling the people to fulfill their aspirations.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the Constitution was drafted after many hindrances and united the princely states in the country. Mr. Modi said Constitution Day is the day to salute this house where many of India's leaders brainstormed to frame the Constitution of India.
आज का दिवस इस सदन को प्रणाम करने का है, क्योंकि इसी पवित्र जगह पर महीनों तक भारत के विद्वज्जनों ने, एक्टिविस्टों ने देश के उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए व्यवस्थाओं को निर्धारित करने के लिए मंथन किया था और उसमें से संविधान रूपी अमृत हमें प्राप्त हुआ है, जिसने आजादी के इतने लंबे कालखंड के बाद हमें यहाँ पहुंचाया है। आज पूज्य बापू को भी नमन करना है। आजादी की जंग में जिन जिन लोगों ने अपना बलिदान दिया, अपना जीवन खपाया, उन सबको भी नमन करने का यह अवसर है।
The Prime Minister said while the nation is commemorating Samvidhan Divas today, the nation should not forget the brave hearts who countered the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks and the ones who lost their lives. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said the Constitution of India is like a modern version of the Gita, which motivates to work for the nation. Union ministers, MPs and ambassadors of different countries were also present in the Central Hall of Parliament during the event. Russian President Vladimir Putin will arrive in New Delhi on 6th of December for the 21st India-Russia Annual Summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Briefing media in New Delhi, MEA spokesman Arindam Bagchi said the leaders will review the state and prospects of bilateral relations and discuss ways to further strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries.
The leaders will review the state and prospects of bilateral relations and discuss ways to further strengthen the strategic partnership between our two countries. The summit will afford an opportunity to exchange views on regional, multilateral and international issues of mutual interest. The visit is in continuation of the tradition of annual summits alternately in India and Russia, and we are confident that the visit will further provide an impetus to the India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership.
Mr. Bagchi said the last India-Russia annual summit was held in September 2019 during visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Vladivostok in Russia. He said the annual summit could not take place in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic. He said this will be the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders after their meeting at the sidelines of BRICS Summit in Brasilia in November 2019. He said since then there have been 6 telephonic conversations between the two leaders apart from the virtual meetings during multilateral summits. Mr. Bagchi informed that the first India-Russia 2+2 dialogue will be held in New Delhi on 6th of next month. He said Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will represent the Indian side in the dialogue.
The agenda for the dialogue will cover political and defence issues of mutual interest. The establishment of this new mechanism of a 2+2 dialogue is expected to further strengthen the strategic partnership between our two countries.
President Ramnath Kovind today paid tributes to the martyrs of the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks on its 13th anniversary and also paid homage to the victims. In a tweet, Mr. Kovind said, "The nation will always be grateful for the bravery and sacrifice of the security forces who laid down their lives in the line of duty." Home Minister Amit Shah also paid tributes to those who lost their lives in the Mumbai terror attacks. In a tweet, Mr. Shah saluted all security personnel who bravely faced the terrorists. A report.
On the night of 26 November 2008, 10 terrorists who had travelled from Pakistan to Mumbai via sea route carried out series of coordinated shooting and bombing. They had targeted prominent places like CSMT Station, Hotel Taj, Trident Hotel and Nariman House in South Mumbai. They opened fire at CSMT Station and killed many people. Similarly, they attacked Nariman House, Hotel Taj, Leopold Cafe and Trident Hotel. The terrorists had laid siege at the Taj Mahal Hotel for almost 3 days, and the high-voltage drama came to an end after the NSG guards killed the last terrorist on November 29th. Mumbai police managed to capture the lone terrorist Ajmal Kasab alive, while 9 others were killed by the NSG guards. The terrorists also tried to attack Kama Hospital but failed to enter the hospital due to the alertness of the hospital staff. More than 160 people lost their lives in the series of the attacks, and ATS Chief Hemant Karkare and Ashok Kamte, Vijay Salaskar and Tukaram Omle of the Mumbai Police and NSG guard Major Sandeep Unikrishnan were martyred in the attack. With Jivan, Bhavsar and Sailesh Patil's report from Mumbai, Abhishek Mukhopadhyay, AIR News.
India today said that it will continue to make every effort to seek justice for the families of the victims and the martyrs of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. The External Affairs Ministry said it is a matter of deep anguish that even after 13 years of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, the families of victims from 15 countries across the globe still await justice. The ministry said Pakistan is showing little sincerity in bringing the perpetrators to justice. It has once again called on the government of Pakistan to give up its double standards and to expeditiously bring the perpetrators of the horrific attack to justice. It said this is not just a matter of Pakistan's accountability to the families of the innocent victims who fell to the terrorists, but also an international obligation as the terrorist attack was planned, executed and launched from Pakistan's territory. A senior diplomat from the High Commission of Pakistan in India was summoned by the Ministry of External Affairs today.
Foreign ministers of India, Russia and China have reaffirmed their support for a transparent, open, inclusive and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system with the World Trade Organization, WTO, at its core. In a joint communique after the 18th meeting of the foreign ministers of 3 countries, the leaders reiterated their support for the necessary reform, which would preserve the centrality, core values and fundamental principles of the WTO. The leaders also reaffirmed their commitment to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in its 3 dimensions, economic, social and environmental, in a balanced and integrated manner. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas is the most powerful manifestation of the spirit of our Constitution. Addresses Constitution Day event organized by Supreme Court in New Delhi. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana stresses on launching massive drive to make citizens aware of constitutional rights and duties. Russian President Vladimir Putin to attend 21st India-Russia Annual Summit in New Delhi on 6th of December. Two-day India-Russia 2+2 dialogue also to begin same day. Russia, India and China reaffirm their support for transparent, open, inclusive and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system with WTO at its core. New Delhi says it will continue to make every effort to seek justice for families of Mumbai terror attack martyrs and victims, accuses Pakistan of showing little sincerity in bringing perpetrators to justice. Centre cautions states and union territories against new variant of COVID-19 detected in South Africa and 2 other countries. International commercial passenger flights to and from India to resume from 15th of December. In Indonesia Open Badminton, PV Sindhu cruises into semi-finals of women's single. Pair of Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty enters men's doubles semi-final. And in Kanpur Cricket Test, New Zealand were 129 for no loss in their first innings in reply to India's 345. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
भारत के स्वतंत्रता संग्राम में अनगिनत स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों ने अपने प्राणों की आहुति दी। कुछ इतिहास में अमर हो गए और कई गुमनाम। आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के अंतर्गत 75 कड़ियों की श्रृंखला में हम उन वीरांगनाओं की बात करेंगे जिनका योगदान कभी भुलाया नहीं जा सकता। प्रत्येक मंगलवार परिक्रमा में सुनिए अपराजिता, देश की वीरांगनाओं को आकाशवाणी का सादर नमन।
Welcome back. You're listening to the evening news. The centre has cautioned states and union territories against the new variant of COVID-19 detected in South Africa and 2 other countries. The Union Health Secretary, Rajesh Bhushan, has written to additional chief secretaries or principal secretaries or secretaries health of all states and UTs, stating that multiple cases of the new variant have been reported in the 3 countries. He asked all states and union territories to conduct rigorous screening and testing of all international travellers coming from or transiting through South Africa, Hong Kong and Botswana.
The centre has decided to resume scheduled commercial international passenger services from 15th of December. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the scheduled international commercial passenger services were suspended by India on 23rd of March last year. Directorate General of Civil Aviation in a circular said that the matter has been reviewed and the competent authority has decided to resume the scheduled commercial international passenger services to and from India with effect from 15th of next month.
After a fresh surge in COVID cases in Rajasthan, the State Home Department today issued new guidelines. Both the doses of COVID vaccines have been made mandatory for the academic and non-teaching staff of all education institutions in the new guidelines. Now, it will be mandatory for all students to take written permission from their parents or guardians before joining educational institutions. A report.
As per new guidelines, educational institutions are not allowed to force the student to attend offline classes. The schools will also have to continue the facility of online teaching for their children. Any gathering along with prayer meetings will not be allowed, while school canteens will also be closed till further order. A joint enforcement team of district administration, police and municipal corporation will be formed to ensure strict compliance of COVID-appropriate behavior at public places. In the last 20 days, the number of active cases has increased from 20 to more than 150 in the state. 31 students of different schools have also been tested positive for COVID-19 so far in the state. Jitendra Dwivedi, AIR News, Jaipur.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 120 crore 96 lakh mark today. More than 120 crore 96 lakh 90,000 doses were administered so far. Health Ministry said more than 65 lakh 23,000 vaccine doses were administered today.
In our bilingual live phone-in program Corona Jagrukta series, Dr. Piyush Ranjan from Department of Medicine, AIIMS, New Delhi, will be with us tonight to answer the queries related to coronavirus. Listeners can ask questions to the expert from 9:30 p.m. onwards on toll-free number 1800-115767 and on telephone number 011-2331-4444. You can also post your queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR.
As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events is being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of this struggle every day.
We, the people of India.
Today is Constitution Day, also known as Samvidhan Divas, which is celebrated in our country on the 26th of November every year to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India on this day in 1949.
On 26th November 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India, which came into effect from 26th of January 1950. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment on 19th of November 2015 notified the decision of the Government of India to celebrate the 26th day of November every year as Constitution Day to promote Constitution values among citizens.
स्वतंत्रता को बल देता है, समता न्याय का फल देता है, जिसकी बदौलत भारत देश को मिला यहाँ सम्मान है। भारत का संविधान है।
The Constitution of India was framed by the Constituent Assembly, set up under the Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946. The Assembly held its first meeting on the 9th of December 1946 and elected Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, the oldest member of the Assembly, as the Provisional President. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru called upon the members to take the pledge of dedication.
At this solemn moment, when the people of India, through suffering and sacrifice, have secured freedom, I, a member of the Constituent Assembly of India, do dedicate myself in all humility to the service of India and her people, to the end that this ancient land retain her rightful place in the world and make her full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind.
On December the 11th, 1946, the Assembly elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as its permanent chairman. Highlighting the role of the Constituent Assembly in an infant nation, Dr. Rajendra Prasad said,
मैं ये भी मानता हूँ कि इस Constituent Assembly को पूरा अख्तियार, मुकम्मल अख्तियार इस बात का है कि वो अपनी कार्रवाई जिस तरह से चाहे करे, इसके अंदर वो जो कुछ करना चाहे करे और इसमें किसी भी बाहर की ताकत को अख्तियार नहीं है कि इसकी कार्रवाइयों में वो कुछ भी हस्तक्षेप या दखलंदाजी कर सके.
Members of the Constituent Assembly represented the different ideologies and diverse culture of our great nation. The Constituent Assembly set up 13 committees for framing the Constitution. The drafting committee under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was charged with the Herculean task of preparing the draft Constitution. He said,
"Let us leave aside slogans. Let us leave aside words which frighten people. Let us even make concession to the prejudices of our opponents. Bring them in so that they may willingly join with us on marching upon that road, which, as I said, if we walk long enough, must necessarily lead us to unity."
Despite the diverse opinions, the Constituent Assembly solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic.
India is the longest written constitution in the world, containing 395 articles, 22 parts and 12 schedules. The sections on fundamental rights and fundamental duties in the Constitution of India lay down a foundation for the appropriate behavior and conduct of citizens. The directive principles guide that the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting, as effectively as it may, a social order in which justice, social, economic and political, shall inform all the institutions of the national life.
People of India are the ultimate custodians of the Constitution. It is in them that sovereignty vests, and it is in their name that the Constitution was adopted. The Constitution empowers the citizen, but the citizen too empowers the Constitution by following it, by protecting it, and by preserving it to make it more meaningful with words and deeds.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Best wishes to all our consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase Hallmark gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline's toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Jago Grahak Jago.
In badminton, Indian shuttlers had a good day at the Indonesia Open Super 1000 tournament in Bali today. Reigning world champion PV Sindhu raced into the semi-finals of the women's singles event, beating South Korea's Sim Yoo-jin. In the men's doubles event, Indian pair of Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty also moved into the semi-finals, beating Malaysian duo Goh Zifei and Nur Uzzuddin. However, India's Sai Praneeth lost his men's singles quarter-final tie against the Olympic champion Victor Axelsen of Denmark.
In Kanpur Cricket Test, New Zealand were 129 for no loss against India in their first innings on the second day at Green Park Stadium. Will Young with 75 and Tom Latham with 50 runs were at the crease when the stumps were drawn. The visitors now trail by 216 runs. In their first innings, India posted 345 runs. Debutant Shreyas Iyer was the top scorer for the hosts with 105 runs, supported well by Ravindra Jadeja, who scored 50.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Modi says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas is the most powerful manifestation of the spirit of our Constitution. Addresses Constitution Day event organized by Supreme Court in New Delhi. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana stresses on launching massive drive to make citizens aware of constitutional rights and duties. Russian President Vladimir Putin to attend 21st India-Russia Annual Summit in New Delhi on 6th December. Russia, India and China reaffirmed their support for transparent, open, inclusive and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system with WTO at its core. New Delhi says it will continue to make every effort to seek justice for families of Mumbai terror attacks, martyrs and victims, accuses Pakistan of showing little sincerity in bringing perpetrators to justice. Centre cautions states and UTs against the new variant of COVID-19. International commercial passenger flights to and from India to resume from 15th December. In Indonesia Open Badminton, PV Sindhu cruises into semi-finals of women's singles. Pair of Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty enters men's doubles semi-finals. And in Kanpur Cricket Test, New Zealand 129 for no loss in their first innings in reply to India's 345. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.